right, welcome to another episode of the Behind the Fang podcast. I am your host, Roth Nightly Eames Darkraven. This week, we have someone that I've known for quite a long time. This person has pretty much watched me grow up in Progeny, and it is my pleasure to have her on the podcast this week. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Princeps Witchy Immortali Vindicta. How you doing today?
I'm doing really well, Ralph. How are you?
I am great, thank you. So, welcome to the podcast. I think you're my third guest
Well,
on
thank
the
you. I'm honored.
podcast. And I try to pick people on the podcast who I think have interesting stories and things about that they can tell us about their experiences in Progeny that might be different than others. And I think with you, especially from where I'm at, you're clear on the other side of the rock, and
Yes.
you are in Second Life pretty much at a different time than I am for the most part. So you might have different experiences than I do. So I'm excited for this podcast. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go when you are.
Awesome, awesome. So we'd like to call this section "Who's Your Daddy?" Okay.
Who's
And
my daddy?
who's your daddy? And what this is about is you tell us about your embrace, who your original sire was, about your embrace experience, anything you can think of during that time.
Well, who my daddy, or actually mummy, was then is very different to who my daddy is now. Um, when I was first embraced, I was rushed into Progeny. Unfortunately, I really was never had the formal embrace experience, and landed in Progeny at a time when everything was quite volatile. A couple of bloodlines had been wiped out, and there was, it was all very exciting. And to come into Progeny then, there was no there was no protection for fledglings. There was none of this. You can't bite me. You took your chances, and everything was so scary. And I remember feeling bad when I bit my first child. All those things. I don't know whether anyone else ever goes through that, but yeah, it was very different. I was brought into the Carolinian bloodline, and it was a very formal bloodline there, and it was a lot of ceremony and things like that. It was I loved it, and the
I
blood region
remember.
then.
I apologize. I just to touch on that. I came in through the Carolinian bloodline as well. That's how we
Certainly
known each
did.
other, and I remember all the pomp and circumstance that went along with that bloodline at the time. So I was just touching on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I mean, there was a lot of ceremony and dark dungeons and things like that. So it was all very exciting, and of course I really enjoyed the history. I've always enjoyed the history of Progeny, and the blood region at the time, Joey Raphael, was very into the history. So we got along very well, and uh, I learned a whole lot from them. So it's always sort of whetted my appetite for the history of Progeny. People think about their experiences, their day to day, but one day someone's going to be looking at that, and we're going to be part of history. So we're all walking through history. We just don't realize it at the time. So things like podcasts are awesome to get that perspective and build a picture of what's actually happened over time.
I agree 100%. Um, no, I remember, like you were talking about the dark dungeons and the ceremony. I remember all that. I remember how
Blood brain.
precise. Oh yeah, the blood rain, and I remember how precise they were when they were building the castles.
Oh
How
yes.
long it took for them to build the castles when they would do it,
Mhm.
because they were so precise and everything had to be perfect. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that's the care that they took into it at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot more to it, and And I mean, I don't know whether it was just because I was new in progeny at the time, but everything was very serious.
Right.
I look back at it now and I think, oh, but at the time it was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I loved the role play.
Yeah.
There's probably not enough role play these days, or enough opportunities for role play. Um, so if they're looking at bringing that back, or enhancing that in any way, more power. I think it should be.
Right. Right. Well, with us talking about your embrace and everything, we could talk about your what we call the first blood. So after you've been embraced, you go out and you feed for the first time, or you hunt for the first time. Do you remember your first feeding, and
I
who
do.
took you on your first feeding, and where did you go?
Well, the place I went to, I shouldn't tell everyone because I'll all go there. No, seriously, the very first place I went to, and to all you young vampires out there that, looking for a place to get fresh meat every day, Matria.
Matria.
sharing my secrets, okay? Yes. Um, I went with, gosh, I don't even remember who I went with. It was so long ago. But I remember it seemed to take forever and you could never quite get close enough. And it was all, yeah, it was all really exciting. And you think you're going to die. If one person bites you, you're going to drop dead instantly. And all that sort of thing that you learn over time, it's just not true. I mean, I've had a fairly checkered career, so I haven't always been a good GCSE law-abiding vampire.
Not
And
you.
it's been fun, it's been a blast.
So
My
let's
father, who I count as my father now, Babu, yes, when we and the Immortalis had a lovely time at one stage, we really did like going out and raising hell. So, which seems appropriate for a vampire. I mean,
Well, that's what I like about it is, with me being a renegade sovereign, uh,
mm,
I like being a vampire, and that's why we went renegade.
oh,
And it's the other experiences are just fine, but that's my whole thing. I love vampire lore. I love being able to role play as a vampire.
right.
So no, I get it. I
And
get it.
vampires are not civilized. I mean, it's not like they sit around all the time in frill necks and ball gowns. They don't. I mean, they get down and dirty out there. Let's face it. It's not all genteel. So I
Right.
I think to be able to embrace that side of it as well is exciting, and it's a different kind of role play. I remember at the time thinking, well, this is a different kind of role play. I want to see what it's like out here, and it was fun. Let me tell you, it was a lot of fun.
So do you remember your first confrontation? We call this fang banging. Do you remember your first confrontation?
I do. It
Tell us
was
about it.
with, oh, my first confrontation was actually at the old ADN, where the old ADN, the older ones among you will remember the old ADN.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was Dreamer and I. Yes, he just landed on me and chased me the heck around. He didn't kill me, God bless him, but I had to teleport out to avoid that. And then I thought, you know what, that was fun. How I need to learn to do that better. So yeah, that was kind of my start of enjoying it. Really, when I didn't die that first bite, I thought, wow, that was kind of fun. So
It does. It never fails, no matter who I talk to and ask these questions to. We all pretty much have the same story, and it's you get that first attack on you, and the adrenaline starts pumping, and you're thinking, "Oh my God, I'm going to die," and
and you don't. It
and you
takes
don't.
a long time.
It does. It's if you're looking to get into a quick kill situation, this
No,
is not
this
the
is
role
not.
play for
This is
you.
no. This is not the role play for you at all. This
So,
is more like go and make a three-course dinner in between. No, you
right,
seriously.
right. Especially if you get someone that knows what they're doing.
Right. I mean, there's so many things you can do to avoid, dying, and yeah, it's a matter of skill, and everyone's got their own little skill pointers out there. And no, I'm not sharing any of mine. Sorry.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Oh God, a girl's got to eat, right?
Right. All right, we're going to leave that alone. We're going to move on. We got this section called "With Knowledge Comes Great Power." So, what is your current status? And as in, your bloodline, clan, house. Are you GCSC? Are you Renegade? And what have you learned about progeny and role play?
Oh gosh, that's a lot of questions. Okay, well, I have my own house, Sanguinum Vindicta, which is part of La Sombra, under Kylie and Michael. And yeah, I love them to bits. They're my family. Michael's been my brother for a very long time. God bless his grumpy self. You'll love that. Um, and progeny and role play. Progeny has presented so many different opportunities for role play. Not all of them positive, but they've all been an opportunity to learn different things, and a lot of them bring out things about yourself. You know, they teach you things about yourself. You know, the things that annoy you and the things that excite you, and all through it, from the very beginning for me until this day, the thing that I've tried to hold on to, and I think I've done reasonably well, is honour. And honour seems to be a forgotten word. You know, people talk about it, but they don't do it. But I think I can look back and say, right, I believe I've behaved honourably through the entire game. There might be people out there that disagree, but I believe I have. So I
Well,
think I think as from that point of view, I mean, Progeny's presented me with a lot of different opportunities for role play. You know, from GCSC to to renegade attacks and all sorts of things. You know, just downright dirty biting and things like that. Um,
oh, you hear my dogs in the background. Oi, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
to write down. Yeah, and at the moment we're GCSC, but you know, I don't know. I without wanting to get into the politics of it, there's been a lot of changes in progeny, and there's a lot of changes coming. So you know, I think we have to embrace them all as a community, get behind the new things, and try and don't forget the old things because we all came from somewhere. You
Hmm.
know, and to honour the past, I think is very important. You know, as well as embracing the future.
Well, you spoke of honor, and
Yes.
a lot of people sit there and go, "Oh, this person's a horrible person," or whatnot. And here's my theory on it. I have a pro wrestling approach to it, and that is the bad guys don't think
Hulk
they're bad
Knightley.
guys. The bad guys don't think they're bad guys. So it's all about they're fighting for what they believe in. And so there is no good guy, there is no bad guy. It's all about whatever their
The other guy.
moral stance is. And no matter what you do, you are always the enemy in someone's story. So
Right. Well,
it's
I've,
you're never going to make everyone happy.
that's right. Well, I've often called Progeny the vampire Game of Thrones. And it pretty much is, right? There's a lot of jostling for position and in and out of the GCSC. And honestly, I found a lot of honour among renegades and rogues. A lot of honour. They tend to, if they are with someone, they are with them. And if you upset a friend of theirs, you're going to find out about it. You know, whereas, you know, not the GCSE role play can sometimes lead to, how can I put this nicely, expediency in looking after your allies. Maybe you know what's best for um, my clan or my bloodline, and I guess you can't. It's part of the role play. It's all part of the role play. So you know, I don't judge anyone for how they do it, but you know, just because someone is or isn't GCSC does not mean they are or are not honourable. I've met some incredibly honourable rogues, incredibly. So
Well,
don't judge people.
I hear you. So let's wrap this up with one question here that I've not
Sure.
asked anyone else, and I think I'm going to start making this a regular part of the podcast.
Oh God. Okay.
If you were in complete control of progeny,
Oh.
what would be the one thing you would change or add to progeny?
You know what I would add to progeny, and I believe it would be a great balancer for the vampires. I would bring in slayers. I've been dreaming about slayers for a very long time now. I guess it might happen one day, but in the balance of the progeny universe, if you like, slayers would bring a whole lot more balance to the equation. You know, there would be something for vampires to fear, and I think a little fear is a good thing. So, well, that would be my contribution to progeny. So, just put that out there.
I definitely think that slayers would definitely unite the vampires, if anything.
I think it would just be so exciting. I mean, I would, you know, that I was born to be a slayer. I'm just saying. Look,
All right. Well,
I just think it'd be incredibly exciting and it'd give the vampires something to think about, you know,
right.
Because it is progeny vampire at the moment, and I think the Lycans are, you know, they're out there now too, and it's not progeny vampire anymore; it's progeny universe. But yeah, there's room for slayers. I think slayers would bring. It's kind of like if you put in an alpha predator, it keeps all the other things in check, you know. So I'd look at a slayer as being the alpha predator.
Right.
I would be.
Well, Witchy, I want to thank you for coming onto the podcast. That's just about all the time we have today. But thank you for sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I'm very grateful for your time, everyone out there. Good luck to progeny, and you know, stay honourable.
Again, thank you very much, Princeps Witchy, for your time here on the podcast. My name is Roth Nightly Dark Raven, and until next time, keep them fangs sharp, everyone. Have a good one.